question. Have you seen Destiny's debate with Haki Kachu on Andrew Tate, the second one?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it?
I think Destiny just destroyed him, to be honest. And usually, if even when Daniel Agaju gets destroyed, I kind of can see why somebody might think Daniel did better. But this time it was just so brutal. This time it was so ridiculous. Like Destiny just, I don't know. It just like completely took him out. What do you think?
I haven't watched a full thing yet. I just watched like parts of it. But the part I was at, it felt like Daniel came to defend Islam more than he came to defend Andrew Tate. Because there was a question when Destiny asked him about whether Ramit was like, oh, if Andrew Tate was a Muslim, like, would you defend him? And he said yes. But then half of his opening statement was just talking about Islam. But it's like, why did you even bring up Islam, you know?
Well, I think the conspiracy is that him being a Muslim is the reason why they're targeting him. It just sounds so loony. I mean, I know Daniel has his conspiracy theories, but this one was more loony than his normal conspiracy theories, right? Like usually he has a way of making it seem a legitimate conspiracy theory, like even at least to the people who are not trying to notice that this is all ridiculous. I just think that, I mean, the topic was, he constantly equated trafficking people to just general bad practices within the porn industry, and they think he thinks there's a double standard. So look at the lines, the connections that he's making, right? So given that United States has some influence over Romania, okay, one, right? So that's connection one, right? Over the policies that they have, okay? And given that Andrew Tate has become Muslim, and obviously that makes, and he's popular, and that makes the global powers concerned, apparently, right? And given that there's no really a fine line between what is coercive control over someone's mobility versus just general standard behavior within the porn industry. Like, for example, if I go and pay for somebody on OnlyFans, he was equating that because she's like kind of manipulating me. Like, oh, maybe like I'm with what Andrew Tate was doing, taking people's passports away and forcing them to stay and threatening them. And, so he's saying that this is like, where's the line? Given that there is no line, there's no way to, this is up for feelings, that there's no hard line and you could just choose to enforce it on somebody. So he's like comparing, like, for example, let's say I go on OnlyFans and I pay for seeing pictures of a girl, and I feel like, oh my God, and she talks to me in a way that I feel like I have a special connection with her, and I don't, right? So they're like, oh, she's manipulating you as well. She lied to you. So you're saying Andrew Tate, for example, lied to people about being their girlfriend and being in love with them, and that's gaslighting, and that's called behavior, and that's manipulating and stuff like that. So if that's coercion, so this girl is also manipulating guys on her OnlyFans. So is that human trafficking? Like, no. What? So, I mean, he doesn't understand that in law there's a spectrum, and you have to understand there are a lot of people use precedent, people use a lot of legal definitions to figure out whether something meets the criteria, and there's strict definitions for what these laws are. And just because it's a spectrum and you cannot really pinpoint where that line is, it doesn't mean that it's obvious when you have passed the line. Right. So there are very few instances where you are on the line enough for this to become very difficult for you to know if you have passed the line or you haven't passed the line. But for many cases, it's very obvious that, like, okay, this is, I know there are some gray areas, but this is definitely past the line. For example, this is definitely human trafficking or not. Right. And that's why we have the court system, because to decide this. But he's putting these together, him being a Muslim, United States having power over, having an influence over Romania, having standards that United States likes, right? And the fact that these legal things are a spectrum, right? And also Julian Assange, and Edward Snowden. The fact that, like, oh, look at them, United States is against them, like, and that's not justified. So it's not beyond, it's not too ridiculous to assume they're doing the same thing with Andrew Tate, which is an insane suggestion. It's an insane suggestion. Like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden were people who had who leaked information that was very damaging to the United States, as their position in the world, when their intelligence. Again, I don't take United States sides on this. Right? I'm obviously on the side of Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, but to compare those people to Andrew Tate, who's giving you crypto advice and who's giving you tips on how to treat your bottom bitch so that she becomes your bottom bitch, or like stuff like that. Again, I don't know these terms, right? But that he's comparing him to those people. It's just insane. It's insane. And he kept on trying to talk about these other cases, and Destiny kept on trying to bring him like, where's your... Destiny was really good at saying like, okay, we're talking about whether Andrew Tate committed a crime. You don't have any evidence. And every time he asked Daniel Haqiqatjou for evidence, Daniel Haqiqatjou went on other cases like, well, you look at here, look at Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, look at the influence the United States has on Romania. Like, okay, those are not evidence. At one point, Destiny even said, like, you seem to not understand what evidence even means. And that was a very key. That was the entire point of the entire debate, that Daniel Haqiqatjou doesn't understand the meaning of evidence. He just wants to connect random things together and paint a picture for you.
There was I think a community post he made. I saw that on Destiny's subreddit, but I thought it was funny. Right after the debate, he said that like he felt like I need to find it to remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of like, oh, here it is. Is there anything I missed in the Tate debate with Destiny? If so, comment below. I will be addressing the top comments and stuff. I obviously expected Destiny and his liberal fanboys to misconstrue and strawman my argument, but unfortunately, a lot more Muslims than I expected are blue-pilled. So I guess like he didn't expect it, but a lot of his own fans didn't agree with him.
No, there is a huge movement within the Muslim community as well. They're like, why are we celebrating this guy? This guy is horrible. Right? So a lot of Muslims are scratching their head for why some other Muslims are celebrating Andrew Tate. And so there's a lot of infighting happening here, especially a lot of Muslim feminists are pulling their hair out over this. Get my best-selling book, Why There Is No God, for free. Click on the link for it in the description.